If history is just the past, then why are wars still being fought over old borders? Why do nations still argue over centuries-old events? And why do powerful countries keep repeating the same mistakes? History is not dead. History is not over. In fact, history is still controlling the world today. Welcome to the History Desk. Most people believe history is boring. They think it is nothing more than dates, names, and long textbooks to memorize. But that is not history. That is rote learning. Real history is about choices made by human beings. It is about ambition, fear, power, and survival. Behind every date lies a decision. Behind every empire lies a cost. And behind every victory lies a story that is often ignored. History is not meant to be memorized. It is meant to be understood. Look around the world today. Wars rage, borders are disputed, and political tensions never seem to end. But these are not random events. They are echoes of history. Every conflict, every alliance, every tension has its roots in decisions made centuries ago. Colonial empires drew borders without considering local cultures. Kings and conquerors fought battles that still influence modern nations. The struggles we see today are often the continuation of past ambitions and mistakes. History shapes not just countries, but people's identities, beliefs, and fears. A nation that remembers past humiliation will act differently from one that celebrates its past victories. Leaders study history to predict outcomes, and citizens feel the impact of history in everyday life, from language to laws, from politics to culture. Understanding the present requires looking at the past. Without history, we only see events, not patterns. We may blame today's problems on current leaders, but the truth is, history often sets the stage for what unfolds. By studying history, we can see why nations act the way they do, and maybe, just maybe, avoid repeating the same mistakes. You've probably heard the phrase, history is written by the winners. And it is true to a large extent. The stories we learn in books, the events we are taught in schools, and even the narratives we see in media are often shaped by those in power. The victors choose what to remember and what to forget. But this does not mean that history is always false. It is often incomplete. Millions of voices, stories, and experiences are left unheard. The people who suffered, resisted, or simply lived through events are rarely recorded. Their struggles and lessons are buried beneath the stories of kings, emperors, and generals. At the History Desk, we will question the official versions. We will ask, who benefits from this story? Who was silenced? Which perspectives are missing? By looking beyond the winner's narrative, we begin to see the full picture. Understanding history in this way is not just about the past, it is about understanding power, influence, and consequences. When we uncover the hidden stories, we learn lessons that are still relevant today, and we gain insight into the world as it truly is. At the History Desk, our mission is simple: to study history clearly, honestly, and thoughtfully. We won't just repeat what textbooks say. We will explore the causes, consequences, and patterns behind events. Every video will connect the past to the present, showing how history shapes the world we live in today. Here, we will look beyond propaganda and bias. We will examine multiple perspectives, question the official story, and uncover the hidden truths that often go unnoticed. Our goal is to help you understand why nations act the way they do, why conflicts continue, and why power has always mattered. This channel is not about drama or exaggeration. It is about insight, clarity, and understanding. If you want to think critically, see the bigger picture, and truly understand the world, the History Desk is the place for you. If you believe that history matters, that the past is not just stories but lessons, then you're in the right place. On the History Desk, we will explore the events, decisions, and patterns that shape our world. Every video will help you understand not just what happened, but why it happened and how it affects today. So, if you want to see history as it truly is, thoughtful, insightful, and meaningful, subscribe to the History Desk. Turn on notifications and join us on this journey. Because the past is not dead. It explains the present. Imagine waking up in a world with no cities, no schools, no written language, no laws, only survival. Humans wandered from place to place, hunting animals and hoping nature would be kind. Then, in one extraordinary land between two rivers, everything changed. People stopped wandering. They began farming, building homes, creating rules, writing words, and organizing life. From this single region came cities, writing, law, science, and culture, the foundations of the modern world. That land was Mesopotamia, and this is the story of why historians call it the cradle of civilization. Before civilization began, human life was simple but extremely difficult. People lived as hunter-gatherers, constantly moving from one place to another in search of food and water. They hunted wild animals, collected fruits, roots, and nuts, and depended entirely on nature for survival. There were no permanent homes. Shelters were temporary and often made from branches, animal skins, or caves. Because people were always on the move, they had no cities, no written language, and no organized system of laws. Life expectancy was low, and survival was uncertain. Every day was a struggle against hunger, weather, and wild animals. There was no concept of government, education, or stored knowledge. This nomadic lifestyle continued for thousands of years until humans made one revolutionary discovery. They could grow their own food and settle in one place. That discovery changed human history forever. The land of Mesopotamia was shaped by two great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. These rivers played a decisive role in the rise of civilization. Every year they flooded the surrounding land. At first, these floods were dangerous and unpredictable, destroying homes and crops. But over time, people began to understand the pattern of the floods. When the water receded, it left behind rich, fertile soil that was perfect for farming. This fertile land allowed crops to grow in abundance. People learned to control the water by digging canals and building irrigation systems. As a result, food production increased and famine became less common. With a stable food supply, people no longer needed to move constantly. They began settling near the rivers, forming permanent communities. Thus, the rivers of Mesopotamia became the lifeline of early civilization. With fertile soil and a reliable water supply, the people of Mesopotamia began practicing agriculture. Instead of depending on wild plants, they learned how to grow crops such as wheat, barley, and dates. They also domesticated animals like sheep, goats, and cattle for food, milk, and labor. Agriculture produced more food than people needed for daily survival. This surplus changed society in a powerful way. Not everyone had to farm anymore. Some people became potters, weavers, builders, and traders, while others became priests or leaders. This division of labor made life more organized and efficient. Villages grew larger as populations increased. People stored food for future use, which reduced the risk of starvation. Agriculture created stability, and stability allowed communities to grow, plan, and progress. This agricultural foundation was a major step toward the development of civilization. As agriculture provided a stable food supply, villages in Mesopotamia gradually grew into cities. More people settled in one place, and communities became larger and more complex. To protect themselves, people built city walls, and inside these walls were houses, markets, workshops, and temples. Some of the earliest and most famous Mesopotamian cities were Uruk, Ur, Lagash, and Kish. Among them, Uruk is often considered the world's first true city. These cities were centers of trade, culture, and administration. People exchanged goods such as grain, pottery, and tools. Temples stood at the heart of city life and served both religious and economic purposes. The growth of cities required organization, leadership, and cooperation among people. This marked the beginning of urban life, a defining feature of civilization. Mesopotamia thus became the birthplace of the world's first cities. As Mesopotamian cities grew, managing daily life became more complex. People needed a way to keep records of trade, taxes, crops, and property. To solve this problem, the Sumerians invented the world's first writing system, known as cuneiform. They used a sharpened reed to press wedge-shaped symbols onto soft clay tablets. At first, writing was used mainly for economic records, but over time it developed to include laws, stories, prayers, and knowledge. Writing allowed information to be stored and shared across generations. It made administration easier and helped rulers govern more effectively. It also made education possible, as scribes were trained to read and write. With the invention of writing, history itself began, because events could now be recorded. This achievement is one of the strongest reasons Mesopotamia is called the cradle of civilization. With the growth of cities, maintaining order became essential. As populations increased, disputes over land, trade, and property became common. To manage society, Mesopotamians developed organized systems of government and law. One of the most famous examples is the Code of Hammurabi, created around 1754 BCE by King Hammurabi of Babylon. This was one of the earliest written law codes in history. The laws were carved onto a stone pillar so that everyone could see and know them. They covered many aspects of life, including family matters, trade, labor, and crime. The principle of justice was based on fixed rules rather than personal decisions. Although punishments were often harsh, the idea that law applied to society as a whole was revolutionary. This system of written law laid the foundation for modern legal systems. The people of Mesopotamia were not only farmers and rulers, they were also great inventors and thinkers. They developed many tools and technologies that changed human life forever. For example, they invented the wheel, which made transportation and pottery easier. Religion was essential to life in Mesopotamia. People believed in many gods, each controlling different aspects of nature, such as the sun, rain, and rivers. Temples called ziggurats were built as places of worship and also served as centers for administration and storage. Religion influenced daily life, politics, and laws, guiding both rulers and ordinary people. Mesopotamians also created rich culture and art. They wrote stories, such as the famous Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the earliest known pieces of literature. Music, sculpture, and pottery flourished. Festivals and rituals were common, celebrating gods in the changing seasons. This combination of religion, art, and organized society made Mesopotamian culture highly advanced. Their cultural achievements were passed on to later civilizations, influencing traditions, literature, and religious ideas for centuries. Mesopotamia earned the title Cradle of Civilization because it was the birthplace of many firsts in human history. Here, people learned to farm and domesticate animals, ensuring a stable food supply. Cities like Uruk and Ur introduced organized urban life, complete with markets, temples, and roads. Writing, in the form of cuneiform, allowed knowledge and history to be recorded for the first time. The development of laws, such as the Code of Hammurabi, brought justice and social order. Inventions like the wheel, plow, and sailboat, along with advances in mathematics, astronomy, and engineering, laid the groundwork for later civilizations. Religion, art, and literature flourished, creating a rich culture that influenced generations. All these achievements show how Mesopotamia nurtured the growth of human society, just as a cradle nurtures a baby. It truly gave birth to the foundations of modern civilization. Whereas Mesopotamia was more than just a land between two rivers, it was the birthplace of everything that shaped human civilization. From farming in cities to writing, laws, science, and culture, it laid the foundations for the modern world. Every school, court, calendar, and road we use today can trace its roots back to this remarkable region. Understanding Mesopotamia helps us see how humans move from survival to organized society, creativity, and knowledge. Its achievements remind us that civilization is built on curiosity, innovation, and cooperation. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories about the origins of human civilization. In the next video, we will explore the first writing system in human history. Stay curious, because history is not just the past. It lives in the world around us.